Well, by my clock, it's noon Eastern time, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the March AECT-OTP membership meeting, and happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Hope that you're all wearing the green, if not in character, then in spirit today for all of the Irish and all of us, I suppose. Most of you know me. I'm Tim Boylo, and I'm the current OTP division president. And as you can see by the agenda that's displayed, we have a couple of things to get through. We probably will not go for the full hour today, but this is actually the third of 6 scheduled member meetings, which will occur this year between January and June. We may also schedule a meeting in September and/or October if needed to aid in preparation for the National Convention in November. So I hope that we'll be seeing all of you in Jacksonville this year. This meeting is always at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on the third Friday of the month, and the meetings are conducted via Zoom using the same ID that you used to connect today. And the meetings are also recorded and will be shared via the Facebook group page for AECT-OTP a little bit later on today. I also want to stress that the meetings are open to all members. However, the division board members are expected to attend. And again, by way of housekeeping, to assist in tracking meeting attendance, please go to the chat window in the Zoom interface and type your name so that we will have a record. I've already indicated that in the chat, but if you could help us out, much appreciated. And then finally, to improve the audio of the meeting recording, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, and that will cut down on some of the ambient noise and feedback that occasionally you'll hear through your speakers. So with that, let's move on to our board updates. If you are not sure who your current board members are, you can go to the AECT.org website and click on the OTP division for a list of the current board members. And this is for the 2016 through 2017 term. What I want to do next is move on to our update from our executive board representative, who is Sharon Williams Van Rouge, just to let us know what's going on from an executive board standpoint. So Sharon, please take over from here.
Thank you, Tim. Everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay. The executive committee decided to cancel the March 15th board meeting because we have several projects in flight that I will update you on, but we'll have, how the final outcomes were after our April 19th meeting. Some of you may know that Dr. Eugene Couch, who was our president-elect, is leading a subcommittee of the AECT Convention Planning Committee to try and figure out how we establish parameters for future AECT convention presenter eligibility. You may recall at our last membership meeting, I explained to you there were 2 outstanding issues, one of which manifested itself on Facebook in a series of flaming messages. Mm-hmm. One of those issues, namely the contribution of non-presenters, had been resolved by technology. Namely, when you receive your acceptance letter for this year's convention, you and your team, if you're part of a team, then decide who gets listed as presenters and who gets listed as contributors. So for example, if you worked on a project with 5 people and you know that 4 of the 5 people aren't going to be at the convention, but they need to have some kind of recognition, you can have them listing as contributors, and you as a team decide what the order of names is going to be. So that's the first issue. The second issue had to do with how many people can be listed as a first presenter on how many presentations and how many presentations you can submit at any given conference. The current AECT quote-unquote practice has been similar to other organizations, namely a maximum of 3 presentations where you are the first presenter. However, there was an attempt based upon a small number of individuals, and I want to emphasize that it is a very small number of individuals abusing the system and abusing the fact that AECT tends to be more flexible than some of our other associations in the field of education. So there is one individual, for example, that had his name on 10 presentations. So the question is, does that exclude people given the size of AECT? What does that do? What does that add for the organization? So Eugene Couch is leading this subcommittee to address that. They have invited 5 convention planners, and these are division president-elects from AECT's 5 largest divisions to serve on this subcommittee, and they have all accepted to participate. Now, OTP, I know, is not among the largest divisions, but I'm sure the 5 largest divisions at AECT, their point of view is not going to differ dramatically from OTP. However, if you want to be on the safe side, Tim, if you'd like to send a note to Eugene and say, this is what OTP thinks, that's perfectly welcome. You are welcome to do so. The second item, some of you again may know this, our past president, immediate past president, Kay Persichetti, has been conducting some focus groups related to our continuing work on the AECT strategic plan. There is also a survey that was sent out, and hopefully everyone on this meeting has responded to the survey, to express your own views regarding the future direction of AECT's strategic planning and direction. We'd like to get as much input as possible. So that is a work in progress, still ongoing, getting as much feedback from the general membership as possible. The next Board of Directors meeting will be on the 19th of April, where hopefully we'll have some conclusions to at least 1, if not 2, of the outstanding items. And our membership meeting following that board meeting, I will report out to you what the results are. Any questions for me? In that case, I'll turn it back to Tim then.
Let me go ahead and move right into some updates from the 2 ad hoc committees that have been formed for this year in accordance with the strategic plan that was drafted and accepted at the leadership in 2016. The first committee, as you know, hopefully most of you have been following the activity, is the Digital Badging and Micro-Credential Committee. This is co-chaired by Dirk Eifenthaler and myself. And in addition to the 2 of us, we have Brandy, Lisa, Steve, and Kate are all members of this committee. We have been trying to gather some momentum on this, and I'm happy to report that we are working on finalizing the agenda and goals for this committee. And we hope to be scheduling our first committee meeting to kind of bring everyone together in a synchronous environment, hopefully in the next week or 2. So by the April member meeting, I expect that we will have more to report on that. And once again, if you have interest in the work of this committee, or if you are interested in perhaps serving on this committee to become more involved in terms of digital badging and micro-credentialing to support the OTP division, as well as your own institutions or interests, please reach out and we would gladly welcome you as a member of the committee. The next ad hoc committee is the YouTube Best Practices Channel Committee. This, of course, is being co-chaired by Susan Jenden and Ashley MacArthur, with additional members by myself, Lisa again, and Landon Meekum, also from Boise State, along with Lisa. And there are some exciting things that are happening with this committee. There is now an AECT-OTP brand channel on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you search on AECT-OTP, you'll find us, and there's not a lot there yet, but we do have a brand channel on YouTube, so we're pretty excited about that. I'll also note that the committee met for the first time this week on March 15th, and I would like to turn it over to the committee co-chairs, Ashley and Susan, to provide us with a brief update. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Tim. I just put the link to the channel in the chat. I hope that's the link. And so that if you want to take a look at it, there it is. I can't say we have a whole lot there yet, but we're excited about it. As Tim said, we just had a meeting on March 15th, and that was exciting as well. Our plan is to have our next meeting on April 26th, and please do reach out and let us know if you're interested in being on that committee, because we would welcome you. In addition, we've got the branding. We've determined that we are going to have meetings by Zoom, using Google Docs and email. As yet, we are not particularly decided on other channels of communication, probably some Facebook, but those decisions are all to be determined. And lastly, for me, one thing we want to say is we are going to survey possible users of the site. And so to that end, we've come up with, we are in the process of reviewing a survey that will be available in different ways, and mainly to ask people to identify their role, what they'd like to see, any suggestions about the way the content should be presented, and topics. So we want it to be high level, easy, quick. We don't want people not to do it, but we do want input. And I think that we will be asking for everybody on this committee's input as well. So expect to hear from us about that pretty soon. And we're, again, looking for our committee's input on the question. If you have any thoughts about a survey, please let us know. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to fill you in on the rest.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you all hear me? Yeah?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. I never know with my headsets. I'm on like number 3 out of 5. So if this doesn't work, I have a couple more that should. So we talked a lot yesterday, on Wednesday for our first meeting, and got a really good idea of kind of how we wanted to work through things that Dr. Jibden said. And we're going to do a lot of this asynchronously as far as brainstorming, and specifically what we're going to start doing soon are the guidelines for the videos. So we have the time kind of narrowed down already, the length that we're looking for, but we're also going to be looking at the specific guidelines for the videos as far as content goes. We really want to make sure that it aligns with both our division and the AECT so that it's something that's relevant and useful for all of us. And we're going to take those surveys that Dr. Jibden mentioned to really help us frame the guidelines as far as what we're looking for content. We're also going to be brainstorming selection processes, recruitment processes, potential licensing and copyright protocols, as well as the review process. And then I think that's something in which we would like to involve the entire division if they would be willing to take various volunteers to work together to make this review process happen. I don't anticipate it to be a ton of work to review the videos, but you never know, and the more people whose eyes are on things, the more clear idea I think we can have from it. But yeah, basically we're in a huge brainstorming period, and hopefully I'll be able to share some specifics with you all at our next meeting. So that's all I think we have. So thank you all, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks so much, Ashley. You know, as a member of this committee, I'm very excited to see this moving forward. And it can also seem a little overwhelming at times, at least from my perspective. As I mentioned in my introductory comments, that we've created a brand channel, so we have a presence. That's kind of the easy part. You know, we put up the storefront, and here we are. And you know, now the question is, well, what are we going to do with this thing? And more importantly, how can we serve the needs of our division members to really make this a valuable resource? So that is really the work of this committee. But more importantly, and as Ashley and Susan have both indicated, we need to hear from the membership. for this division. We're excited by this initiative. This is something that has been discussed in many different venues, and now we are trying to put together the plans to see what that looks like and exactly how that will work. I can see in the video chat that Kate Leonard has a question. So Kate, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
There's always that question. I'm sorry, my laptop is docked to a bigger screen that doesn't have a video, so not just that I'm shy, but I work at a research university, a biomedical research university that does not have really an undergraduate presence or a college of computer science or a college of education. So people like me, instructional designers, background in technology and education, are few and far between. So we kind of come in, sort of the token person, and make everything perfect, right? in the realm of learning. Mm-hmm. What I've just been sort of slammed with yesterday with regards to developing videos, and I'm really looking to this group to kind of see what insight I can get, has to do with the, I believe it's federal regulations on accessibility. Yeah. And now we're sort of told that all the videos that we produce, regardless if it's for an academic credit program or staff, let's just call it personnel training, need to have closed captioning. And we know that you can't just push a little button on Vimeo or whatever way you're capturing the video. There's got to be sent, either you're going to type out that complete transcript yourself or hire a third-party company at $3 a minute, so a 2-hour webinar. So we're really struggling with that because we do a lot of webinars, and yes, people will use PowerPoints, but the real interaction that's of value comes with the conversation like we're having right now. So apparently as of now, I can no longer record those kind of things and put them out there as far as training. So I'm kind of looking for some guidance in my professional community. How's that?
Kate, that's excellent, and thank you so much for jumping into the conversation. You've got it. There's a few different issues in there, and some of it I think certainly does fall within the purview of the work of this committee, and that is how you are positioning the videos. Our aim, and Susan or Ashley, either one, feel free to jump in, but our objective here is to provide informational content, essentially best practices videos. So we're not promoting the YouTube channel for the division as a training channel or a training resource per se. So it's a little bit different categorization. It's general information. Take it or leave it. We are not expressing any sort of contract in terms of what you'll be able to do as a result of viewing this content. Now, taking a look at it from, I certainly empathize with you in terms of the work that you do. I'm teaching in a graduate level 100% online program. So I do a lot of video content, and and we, as an institution, we are tasked with ensuring ADA compliance. And as you've indicated, that requires transcripts, it requires text on screen. There are some great tools out there that may assist you in that in terms of audio to text, as well as text to audio for sight impaired learners who are working in text-based information. So there might be some assistance there in terms of practices. When I'm developing my video learning objects for the courses that I do, I typically do, I condition myself to work off a script. Simply because by doing so, I'm ensuring that I've covered all the learning objectives that I need to cover, and by de facto, I have a transcript that I can include as an attachment. But I so agree with your point that when you are doing webinar, the real learning happens in the interaction and the collaborative engagement that takes place. So and this is just from the world of TIM, so there are certainly more qualified references that you can seek, I'm certain. But I would suggest looking at some of the speech to text type tools that might be available. And I'd open it up to see if anyone else has any guidance. But I do think that I just want to summarize, I do think that you raised a number of excellent points. These are things that we certainly want to consider, and specific to the OTP division and in particular the work of this committee on the YouTube channel in terms of how we are positioning the content. But I open it up for anyone else in this group, because those of you who are academes as well as in the training industry, what tips do you have, or what have you found?
Tim, if I could jump in here.
Sure.
I don't know what technical resources you may have at your institution, but if you've got a couple of programmers around, you can download some of the open source audio to text tools and have the programmers make some adjustments. Those are free to use. They're on the Creative Commons license. So as long as you're an academic institution, it's for internal training. You're not going to build a product that you're going to sell commercially, and the usual things associated with open source licenses. So that's one option. The other option there are a couple of tools that are subscription based, and based upon what I just heard, the real challenge is not so much with videos that you create, but with the webinars when you have questions and answers, because there's no script for the question and answer. You never know in advance what somebody's going to ask or what somebody's going to answer. So it's really that particular component. So either open source or some of the freeware tools to move you from audio to text would be something worth exploring. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to spend some money, whether it's the time spent or the salary of a programmer or the subscription cost, and they vary in price, some of these tools of doing audio to text. But the days of free lunch are long gone, folks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you're right, Tim. If I'm recording a video for educational purposes, a script is what saves you from tripping over your own tongue. So that's often not an issue. I usually have a script that I can easily use. But yes, we'll see next week when we have larger meetings with our legal committee about how to get past this, because we depend on recording webinars so often for people that don't make classes, meetings, synchronous opportunities even in classes to sort of give that added benefit to them. But and we do have programmers here, so that might be a good resource as well with the open source software that's out there. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And Kate, you and I can even, first of all, does anyone else have any additional comments or recommendations for Kate?
I was just going to say one thing, and that is I do know somebody who's an expert on this topic within a university community, that is on educational applications. We obviously are going to have to make some decisions for this committee and for this purpose, and so we'll look into that. But if I can get any more information, I just like to know what's the best way to distribute it. Probably just bring it to this meeting next time. Or if I know people who are specifically looking for that, post that somewhere. Yeah,
and of course the Facebook group site would be a great venue for that type of information as well, to share those resources, Susan. So yeah, thank you much.
Right.
Anyone else on this?
Just real quick, I agree we should talk about this more in committee to decide whether or not, I think we should include the transcripts, but how we're going to go about doing that. I don't know if it's a legal thing for us to do, but if it's something we start doing now or start working in now, if it does become a legal issue later on, then we can kind of take care of it ahead of time. But I guess my point is, sorry, this can get long-winded. My point is, this is something we should definitely talk about in the committee. So, and we will do so. Thank you, Kate, for bringing that up.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, all great comments, and Susan, Sharon, and Ashley, much appreciated. It's just, and I don't want to spend too much time on this. We'll move on and kind of wrap up. But I can tell you from a personal experience standpoint, this semester in one of my grad classes, it's the first time that I actually had a student that she is legally blind. And she has specific requirements, and I was contacted by our office on campus that provides services for students with various disabilities. And I've also been in contact with the student. Turns out she's actually a pretty interesting individual. She's an instructor and a technical liaison for the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. So when I started talking to her, I'm like, wow. It sort of goes beyond just the legal requirements, and it's really an ethical requirement. As we are looking at it in our discipline of ed technology, and we are trying to serve more and more diverse groups of learners in a variety of applications, but certainly looking at alternative learning spaces, I think that there are new options and new ways of dealing with these issues. Certainly we have the compliance to deal with, but I think that just in terms of how we communicate, there's probably some interesting things that we can do in order to impact learning outcomes and learner experiences. But I do have, Kate, what I started to say before, and I'll put this in an email and send it to you separately. With this particular student that I'm working with, she educated me on some of the tools and technologies that she's using, specifically for text-to-speech and audio-to-text. So I'm happy to share those with you as well. And that kind of goes back to Sharon's comment. Some of these are open source, some of these are licensed, but there is still an investment in terms of integrating them into your processes. So I appreciate the conversation and certainly all of the great ideas that, related to this topic.
I wanted to bring up one more thing really briefly, and that is I do video for a global audience, and often we find that those people in particular really benefit from having closed captions because there's a language problem. And I've become very aware of using what we call global English. And so it's not part of our country's accessibility standards necessarily, but if you're looking to address people who are located outside the United States and for whom English is not a native language, those captions, what they call superscript, are very, very valuable.
Excellent point. All right then. Well, let me get back to our agenda here, and we'll move on with these updates from the committees. And again, I want to thank the members of both committees for your commitment and your time. None of us get paid for doing this stuff, but it's important work. I think that benefits us personally as well as helps to provide additional value for the members of the division. But the next topic on the agenda that I wanted to talk about briefly are the webinar schedule. And as a reminder, we have 3 upcoming webinars that are scheduled, so please mark your calendars. I want to make a notation, and you saw this in the agenda that I shared on the Facebook group page. The first webinar was originally scheduled for March 22nd. That has been changed to March 27th, same time. And that will be presented by Dirk Eifenthaler, and he will be covering digital badges and micro-credentials for the workplace. So I'm looking forward to that, and I would encourage all of you to try to make it. Once again, there will be a video recording of that available at a later date. In April, we have Ashley MacArthur, who is going to be presenting her webinar on diversity training and approaches to organizational change with diverse employees. So this kind of comes back to some of the topics that we've just been discussing in terms of different degrees of diversity in the work that we do and how we communicate with our different audiences. And then finally, in May, we're still trying to finalize the date. It will be the week of the 22nd, and that will be Lisa Giacomo, who will be presenting her webinar on rapid e-learning to support workforce learning. So as always, special thanks to our volunteers, particularly in this case, Dirk, Ashley, and Lisa, for taking the time to share your knowledge and expertise. And I will be providing specific webinar login information via the listserv as well as the Facebook group page specific to the March 27th webinar, as well as the ones that will follow after that. And if you have interest, or you know of someone who would be interested or willing to present a webinar for our division this year, please reach out to me and we will gladly get them on our calendar and our schedule. That brings me then to the open issues, open items discussion moving forward. So we won't have an update on the convention planning, but we will certainly have that in April. I can tell you that all the divisions are in the process of finalizing their proposals in terms that were submitted for conference, and we should be hearing back. If you've submitted a proposal for the fall conference, you should be getting word, I would think, in the next few weeks in terms of what your acceptance is. And Sharon, you probably got the precise dates for that, or do you?
Oh, well, we haven't heard from Eugene or Linda Campion what specific date they're sending them out, but they're getting there.
Yeah, it's safe to say probably the next few weeks, or certainly by late April, right?
Yeah, sometime in April would be the best bet.
Okay, sounds great. I appreciate it. I'll open it up one more time for any open items or discussion from anyone attending the meeting today. Any thoughts or ideas? If not, our next membership meeting will be scheduled for 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be April 21st. As a reminder, the meeting will use the same link used to connect to this meeting. And if you have topics or ideas, things that you'd like to have discussed in the next meeting, in addition to the updates from committees and various other goings-on within the division, within the organization, please send me your thoughts or ideas. And at that point, I would say that we are adjourned, and I wish to thank all of you who came in, particularly those of you who are on spring break, because we all need breaks and we don't get enough of them. But great hearing from you and meeting with you today, and I wish you all a happy St. Patty's Day.
Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.